Hey guys, I'm Jenni Czachowrski. I'm from the 734 store in Midland, Michigan, and I am a Master 1 designer. This is my model, Christina, and today we're going to be doing the baby-lage technique on her. So I'm going to just explain that a little bit for you, and I will explain my design technique later when we get to that section. First, I'm going to section her in a 4-inch subsection from the front to the high point of her head in the mohawk, and that will be one of my sections. And then I'll take from the high point back to her ears to create my 2 sides, and take that high point back to the nape of her neck to give my 2 back sections. And I'll do that and give you an idea of what that looks like before we get started. I'm just using this technique on Christina today so that she has a few of those baby lights to give her a nice organic look and blend it well for her. It also does some balayage in between those baby lights. That way her ends are a little bit brighter for her, but we don't want anything that's going to be super hard to keep up for her. This is just a little preview of what I'm using on Christina's hair today too. I'm using the flash lift just to give us a little bit of a cooler base to start with. And I stuck with 20 volume just to keep that safe for her hair. And then of course I'm using pH bonder just to make sure the integrity of her hair is still intact by the time we're done. Okay, so this is my first section. I'm gonna start in the back. We're gonna start with the baby lights first. You're gonna take a really thin micro stitch, start at the base of her nape here, and you're gonna take a diagonal back so that marble would roll away from her face and section that out. Easier to pin this up out of your way. A nice micro stitch in here. I'll go back through and do it again so that it's smaller even. And you're just gonna wanna take this in zones 2 and 3 and then fan it up into zone 1 so that you're not getting any super harsh lines to create that softness for her. And I always go back in and reinforce that with that lip that I created. And then to our second section, what you're gonna wanna do is sort of brick lay these. That was a diagonal back. You're gonna wanna take a diagonal forward right before that section at the bottom and leave that ease out in between. Those are the little sections that I'm gonna go back through and organically balayage in between these foils. So I'll take another super thin piece, a slice there, and go in and create another micro stitch with this. Reinforce that guy again. Then you're back to the first step. You're gonna diagonal back so that that marble rolls away from her face. Okay, so now I'm on to my last mohawk section. I have everything done throughout. They're all angled off each other for these baby lights, the micro stitches, and I'll go back through and do that balayage to these chunks just as depending on where you want to see the extra pop of lightness. And up top, Christina usually parts her hair down the middle, so I'm gonna kind of tweak this a little bit depending on how your guest wears their hair. So I'll probably do a few just right up front, back to back, that way she gets that little pop of lightness around her face, but then I'll continue to diagonal these back and forth for those micro stitches to the top section. But now I'm gonna go back through. You can kind of just pick spots where you want the color to live. I'll probably go back through between and these ease sections and hit a lot of extra hair there, just that way she
looks a little bit lighter throughout. A little tricky here. Get this stuff out of the way. So just to give you an idea, come back through. I might backcomb a little bit just to kind of help me transition a little. Same thing, sort of saturate through zones 2 and 3, just to make sure. And then I'll probably alternate kind of diagonally through here. Sometimes doing a V, alternate the other way and do a diagonal the other way, and then just fan up in other spots. So yeah, like that. I'll go back through all those sections just because I want her to overall be a little bit lighter, but you can, like I said, kind of customize it to your guests, and you can pick organic sections here that you see where you want color to live in these sections in the way that it's laying.
Okay, so I'm just about ready to rinse Christina. Just watching this to lighten a little bit. It doesn't look quite that light. But she's lifted probably to like at least a level 7. I don't want to take her too light to have it look kind of weird. But I'm just going to show you what I'm going to use to shampoo and condition her. I'm going to use the Renton Extreme line. That since we lightened her a little bit, I want her to add a little protein back. Okay, now that I have her dry, I can kind of see where she's at, and we are about a level 7. It's kind of warm, which I was expecting with her natural level. So I'm going to use Shade CQ Gloss, and I'm going to mix 9B just to kind of get rid of some of that warmth a little bit, and then I'm also going to make a 7N with the 8 and the 6. That way I still can play off the cool tones that are in the natural levels, but kind of not make it too blue with the B. I will add probably about a 1/4 ounce of clear, that way I don't take on too much ashy. And then let that process for the full 20 minutes and get her shampooed out again. So before I get started with my design technique, I'm going to use United 25 first to use it as a cutting agent first to help me, and then also just for smoothness and some frizz before I get started in this hair. For this, I'm actually doing the samurai cut from one of our fall trends. To part this, you're gonna want to start at the occipital, or the phyllo ridge, I'm sorry, coming from her eyebrow on either side. You're gonna want to swoop down in sort of a horseshoe and come up to the top of her occipital bone. This is just your general parting section at first, because we're going to part this horseshoe as well. Christina already has a little bit of a bob in this samurai look. It's kind of a textured, long bob or lob, but we'll just kind of change it a little bit for her hairstyle. Go through, just kind of cover the perimeter. Section this top part out. You're going to want to take a center parting straight down this horseshoe. Center parting right at the high point. You'll have 4 sections on top of her head. So first you're going to start in this back left little section that you created. You're going to section from that high point, cut that in 2,
and deal with your center back piece first. You want to just elevate it just enough off the head, but nothing too harsh. You're going to twist that back section away from the face. Tight, but not to where it's going to start kinking like this or anything. You're just going to want to have it nice and tight there. And just keep it elevated. And for just a little bit of added texture to Christina's hair, because she has quite a bit, you're going to come in a couple inches down from where it parts from her head. And you're just going to take the end of your scissors and just kiss ever so slightly with your scissors in a brick layer from side to side to add a little bit of texture in there and cut those little pieces internally all the way down and get to the bottom. You can blunt cut this or point cut it. With hers, just to add texture, I'm gonna point cut a little bit. That's nothing too severe. And it just adds a little bit of that natural texture to her hair. Then you'll move to this section and do the same thing. Twist all the way down, keep it slightly elevated. A couple inches down and just lightly take those little sections of hair. And just be careful because you don't want to take too big of a chunk out of your client's hair to where they have super small pieces. And already you can tell it adds a little bit of nice texture. Front two sections, you're gonna do it sort of similar. You're gonna part this section again, and comb it away from that high point, but you're gonna part again from that high point up to your parietal ridge in the front. Still twisting away from the face, keeping it slightly elevated. Then with this last front section, you'll do the same thing, twist away from the face and keep it elevated, but you're gonna wanna over direct it back towards her ear to preserve some of that length in front.
All right, now I'm gonna get ready to style Christina. So besides United 25, I'm going to use Pillow Proof just as a heat protectant and to cut down some of that blow dry time. Nice and light, it's not gonna be too heavy for your guest. Shouldn't notice too much product in there. And then on top of that, I'm going to use the Frizzly Smith Smoothing Force, the number 20. Christina has a lot of hair, but it's not exactly coarse by any means, so I don't want to overdo it by it. Alright, so I did decide to put a little bit of just texture wave into Christina's hair at the flat iron. Just kind of kinked it a little bit and left the ends straight. But that's it.